right, time for convening having arrived. The Senate will come to order. We would ask that unauthorized visitors exit chamber at this time, and the Senate will come to order. Chair recognizes the distinguished senator from the 53rd.
Good morning, Mr. President. It's a great day in our chamber. A couple of moments in history. Two great Georgian musicians, James Brown and Ray Charles, was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame back in 1986. And also, the senator from the 7th in 1991 milked his first cow and later become a great farmer. The journal's been read and found to be correct.
Wow. That was wonderful. And you know what else I heard about the senator on milking that cow? He didn't even need a stool. That's it. Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? Reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators having bills and resolutions introduced, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. First reading in reference of Senate bills and resolutions.
Senate Bill 342 by Senators Harbin of the 16th, Albers of the 56th, Watson of the 1st, and others. The bill will be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 2 of Title 40 of the OCGA.
Public safety.
Mr. President, that concludes the order.
Secretary will read reports of standing committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on State and Local Government Operations had under consideration the following legislation and instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 304 do pass by Senator Kirk of the 13th. Mr. President, Senate Committee on Public Safety has had under consideration the following legislation and instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 327 do pass by Senator Albers of the 56th. And Mr. President, Senate Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration the following legislation and instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 321 do pass by substitute, submitted by Senator Stone of the 23rd. That concludes the order.
Thank you. It's time for the morning roll call. Time for the morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Chair recognizes the distinguished senator from Bartow County, Senator from the 14th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 16th for business outside the Capitol. 16th,
without objection, the senator from the 16th will be excused. Chair recognizes distinguished senator from Cobb, Senator from 33rd.
Good morning, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 35th District for business inside the Capitol.
35th, without objection, the senator from 35th will be excused. Chair recognizes senator from the 49th, the President Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to request that the distinguished senator from the 25th be excused for business outside the Capitol. He's receiving a major award this morning, as in the Christmas story, a major award.
There you go.
A major award this morning.
All right, very good. Without objection, the senator from the 25th will be excused. Chair recognizes the senator from the 54th.
Yes, Mr. President, with unanimous consent, ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 52nd and the 45th for business outside the Capitol.
The 52nd and the
52nd and 45th.
45th. Without objection, senators will be excused. Chair recognizes senator number 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 38th for business outside of the Capitol.
38th, without objection, senator from the 38th will be excused. Are there any? Chair recognizes senator from the 47th.
Mr. President, ask consideration to excuse the senator from the 45th. Business outside the Capitol.
I think she has already been excused, but thank you very much, Senator. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Columbus, Senator from the 15th.
President, I move that we excuse the senator from the 10th.
10th. Without objection, senator from the 10th will be excused. Are there any other motions to excuse? Any other motions to excuse? Senators, please signify your presence by voting the A switch. Secretary will unlock the machine. Members of the Senate, it is now time for our morning devotion. Time for our morning devotion. Would ask that all senators please take your seats and cease all audible conversation at this time as we are preparing the chamber for our morning devotion. It is now my distinct honor to recognize a senator from the 49th for the purpose of leading us in our pledge and introducing our chaplain of the day. Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, moderation. Thank you, Mr. President. One morning we should have a quiz for the pastor of the day to see if he happens to know the Pledge of Allegiance to the Georgia flag. My pastor of the day today is my good friend, Caleb Clark, who is here this morning with his lovely wife, Mary. Let's give her a warm Senate welcome. Caleb attended University of Georgia undergraduate school, Emory Law School, and was a civil trial lawyer for a number of years before being called to preach. He was a pastor at a couple of three churches here in the metro Atlanta area. He spent some time in corporate America. Matter of fact, he even ran for office once upon a time, and thank goodness he was unsuccessful because he might be running against me in my district. I wanted to keep the competition down. But he was also chief executive officer for the Big Green Egg Company. And he brings a great message. He's a man of great intellect and great experience. Hope y'all give a warm Senate welcome to my friend Caleb Clark.
Thank you, Senator Miller. President, members of this body, thank you for allowing me this time. I want to thank you also for your service to this great state. I took the civics course when I was growing up, so I got a little understanding of what you do, but I'm sure I have really no depth of knowledge of your service to your state and the sacrifice that you offer for us all. So I thank you for that. I'm not going to come here and tell you how to do your job, because I don't know what it is. But I would like to bring just a few words of maybe how that job could be made easier and more secure. For you better than I know that we live in times when our nation literally is divided from within and on attack from without. When governing seems to be almost impossible. I draw for us today some scripture from the Old Testament. A story about a man named Micah. Some of you may remember his book he wrote in the Old Testament. He too was a man that was called by God to help with the nation. You see, that nation had literally divided from within. It was under attack from without. And God lifted up this person, Micah, to try and resolve and help. Micah did his best. He went to the people, but he had questions. What in the world am I to do? What are the people to do? How, Lord, are we to do it? And then that familiar verse, chapter 6, verse 8. O mortal, what's good and what is expected of you? To do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly before your God. Micah realized that it was not what he did, but who he was that made the difference. and what was required of him: to do justly. To get the real sense of what Micah heard, you have to dig down into the Hebrew, and that Hebrew word that we translate justly is mishpat. Better translated, verdict. Any trial lawyers in this room would know what that word means. It's from the Latin. It means to speak the truth. You see, one of the things that God required of Micah, and I think God requires for all of those who are called to bear the burden of government, is to speak the truth. You know, the truth has kind of fallen on hard times. It almost has become a relative term, needed not all the time, but only when necessary. The truth. It takes courage to speak the truth, to tell it like it is, even when your own hopes and your own dreams may be at issue. But for those who know that, know the power in speaking the truth, whether it's in negotiations, whether it's in compromise, whatever. Those who bear the burden of government also are expected to speak the truth and to love mercy. Well, you say, well, mercy, that's just being nice to other people, isn't it? Well, it's a whole lot more than that. You see, when we receive or we give mercy, we're not getting what we deserve. You see, we think people need to deserve it before they get it. They need to earn it. They need to make their own way for it. But to love mercy means to realize that none of us are worthy. We can't always do it. We can't always make it. We can't always earn it. And for those that bear the burden of governing, are required to love mercy, to maybe at times to allow for those who don't deserve it, the least, the last, and the lost. And finally, to walk humbly before your God. As I came in this morning, as I walked into this marvelous building, came into these chambers, there is this intangible sense of power, of having something special, of having more, of being in a position of authority and goodness. And how easy it is to get carried away with where we are and what we have and what we're going to do, and we find that pride slips in. To be humble. You know, humbleness and prideness are not opposites. To be humble is the absence of pride. And that's difficult. But for those who bear the burden of governing, what is good and what is expected of them is to walk humbly before their God, to speak the truth, and to love mercy. Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we give you thanks for this day. I give you thanks for each person in this chamber, for their willingness to serve, for the sacrifice that they bear as they bear the burden of governing. Lord, I pray that as you have called them to govern, you would now instill with them all the strength, all the courage, all the goodness that they need. We thank you for this great state, and we pray for the legislature, for all who stand and sit in powers and places of authority. Guide us this day. guard us this day. And we ask all of this in Christ's name. Amen.
Well done. That was great. Thank you so much. I could have the Senate's attention for a moment, please. It's a real honor to have our doctor with us today, and it's my privilege to call upon the distinguished senator from the 42nd to present our Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I have a fascinating woman who is serving as our Doctor of the Day, Dr. Gulshan Harji. Dr. Harji fled her birthplace, which was Tanzania, when she was a teenager, when Idi Amin was expelling Asians. She then attended high school in Pakistan, but fled again due to war between India and Pakistan. She went to college in Iran, and then midway through medical school fled again due to the Iranian Revolution and the embargo. She had the opportunity to interview with Dr. Lewis Sullivan, who admitted her to the 2-year charter class of Morehouse School of Medicine by attrition. She graduated medical school from Emory University, following a residency in internal medicine. Since then, she has founded a state-of-the-art primary care in Decatur, and in 2015 co-founded a free, comprehensive, 100% volunteer-operated clinic for the indigent and refugees in Clarkston, Georgia. She also has established scholarships for high school students seeking to enter healthcare, and an additional endowment at Morehouse School of Medicine for scholarships to incoming students. Dr. Harji is the recipient of several humanitarian awards. She served on the board of DeKalb Medical Center and is currently on UNICEF USA, the Coalition for Breast Cancer for the state of Georgia, and the Islamic Political Action Committee. She's married and has 3 children. Colleagues, please join me in welcoming and thanking Dr. Harji.
Thank you very much. I love coming to this clinic here. No payroll, no utilities, no HR, no taxes, free parking, and free lunch. Honorable legislators, this is my opportunity. I'm honored to be here, to be able to thank you for all the difficult decisions you make every day and for your efforts. I am deeply honored to be a citizen of the United States of America. I could not imagine this little girl in a village in Tanzania standing in front of you today in the highest office in the state of Georgia. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well said. That was very heartfelt. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's get a picture together on the steps here. We have a special group we would like to recognize at this time and would ask that the Secretary read a resolution.
Senate Resolution 589 by Senators Martin of the 9th, Schaefer of the 48th, Miller of the 40th, and others. A resolution recognizing and congratulating the Republic of Korea on being the host of the 2018 23rd Winter Olympic Games and the 12th Winter Paralympic Games, and for other purposes. Whereas the 23rd Winter Paralympic Games will be held for 17 days from February 9th to 25th, 2018, and the 12th Winter Paralympic Games will be from March 9th to 18th, 2018 in Pyeongchang, the Republic of Korea. And whereas the world's best athletes will compete on Asia's center stage to launch new horizons of culture, environment, geography, and economy in winter sports and create a sustainable legacy for the Republic of Korea. And whereas the Winter Olympic Games will be held in Korea for the first time in 30 years after the Seoul Olympic Games in 1988. And whereas athletes taking part in the Olympic Winter Games Pyeongchang 2018 will compete in 102 events in 15 sport disciplines, whereas the 2018 United States Olympic team is expected to include approximately 240 athletes to feature a blend of veteran and new talent and to field athletes in all 15 sport disciplines. And whereas Georgia's own Myers Taylor from Douglasville, Georgia, has overcome several injuries since the Sochi Olympics and is seeking her 3rd bobsled Olympic medal in Pyeongchang. And whereas the 2018 United States Paralympic team will participate in the events of alpine skiing, Nordic skiing, sled hockey, snowboarding, and wheelchair curling in the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Paralympic Games. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize and congratulate the Republic of Korea on being the host of the 2018 23rd Winter Olympic Games and the 12th Winter Paralympic Games, and wish them success with the expectation that these events will contribute to peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula. That concludes the order.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. It is indeed an honor that we welcome this very special delegation that is present with us here today, along with those members that are in the gallery. Certainly the Republic of Korea, and we have the Consulate General that is present with us today. And so this is indeed a wonderful honor for the State Senate. It is now my distinct honor to recognize the distinguished senator from the 9th to recognize our special guest and speak to the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, colleagues, for allowing me to be here. I'm honored today to present SR 589, recognizing and congratulating the Republic of Korea on being the host of the 2018 Winter Olympic and Paralympic Games. I would like to welcome some distinguished guests that we have here today. First of all, we have Young-Jun Kim, the Consul General of the Consulate General of the Republic of Korea in Atlanta. We have Sammy Yu, President of One Korea USA, C.H. Andy Kim, who is Special Assistant to the President of One Korea USA, Kyun S. Lee, the 25th President of the Federation of the Korean Associations, and Eric H. Kim, President of the National Unification Advisory Council of Atlanta. As many of us know, this year's Winter Olympics will be hosted in Pyeongchang, South Korea. This is the second time that South Korea has hosted the Olympics, but this is the first Winter Games. Seoul hosted the Games in 1988, more than 30 years ago. This year's Games will bring together 94 countries from around the world, and for the first time in Olympic history, we will award more than 100 gold medals. In addition, Pyeongchang 2018 will also have the greatest number of women's and mixed events in Olympic history. The Olympic Games always provide excellent athletic competition, but we will all hope they will serve as an example of friendship and peace worldwide. The international community has been unsettled by unrest in many countries in the world, specifically on the Korean Peninsula, but we hope this can be a first step toward an enduring peace throughout the globe, and we look forward to the displays of kindness and friendship that are typical of every Olympiad. I look forward to the Olympic Games every year, and I have since 1984 when I first remember watching the Games in Los Angeles. And I remember the moment in time when Atlanta was named as host of the 1996 Olympics, and the amazing time and memorable time when we hosted the Games here in Georgia and in Atlanta. And I'm glad today to congratulate the people of South Korea on your accomplishment and excited to see the Games in a few weeks. We in Georgia and the United States as a whole are happy to have the Republic of Korea as one of our oldest friends and closest allies, and we wish them all the best in their hosting of this year's Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang. And now to speak further, we have Consul General Young-Jun Kim.
Thank you. Honorable Lieutenant Governor Kagan, and Honorable Butch Miller, President pro tempore, Honorable Senators, leaders of Korean American communities, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Korean government and Korean communities in Georgia, I'd like to extend my heartfelt appreciations to the Georgian Senate for supporting the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympic Games. As you are well aware, the United States and Korea has maintained a strong alliance since the Korean War in 1950s. At the beginning, Korea was heavily dependent on the military, economy, and financial assistance from the United States. However, with the success of economic development, Korea now ranks as the 10th largest economy in the world and the 6th largest trade partner with the United States. Korea has also transformed from a recipient country to a donor one in international communities, the only case in history. In addition to successfully hosting the Seoul Olympic Games in 1988 and the World Cup Games 2002, Korea will host another World Sports Festival, the Pyeongchang Winter Olympic Games, next month. I believe These successful Korean stories are much indebted to the United States. In this regard, you deserve to share the same pride Korean people have kept in their heart. Today's adoption of the resolution to support the Pyeongchang Olympic Games clearly shows the growing connections and integrity between Georgia and Korea. This resolution is not only a heartfelt wish for a successful Winter Olympic Games by a number of members of international communities, but also a sign of welcome to Korean communities and business circles residing in Georgia. Korean community in Georgia comprising roughly 120,000 Koreans and Korean American citizens and around 8 invested Korean companies will remember this heartfelt gesture by Georgia for a long time. From my part, as a Korean Consul General in Atlanta, I will do my best to promote continued good relations between our two communities. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited to have witnessed today the resolution to support a successful Pyeongchang Winter Olympic Games adopted in Georgia Senate. This day will serve as an opportunity for all people in Georgia to consider the true spirit and purpose of the Olympics, promoting peace and unity with the international community through the mediums of sports. I especially believe Pyeongchang Olympic Games will serve as one of the biggest sports event festivals in the international community, and that it will highly contribute to peace and stability on Korean Peninsula. I hope that each of you will enjoy the Olympic Games next month. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Please let us recognize the guests in the gallery. If you would please stand as well. Thank you very much. An honor to have you with us. Thank you. Are there any unanimous consents? Any senator wishing to rise on a point of personal privilege? Moving on to, or later, okay. We have a consent calendar of privilege resolutions that are before you. Is there objection to agreeing to the consent calendar of privilege resolutions? Chair hears none, and the privilege resolutions are therefore adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw or commit? You have a consent calendar of local bills that are before you. Mr. Secretary, are there any objections filed on any of the bills on the local consent calendar?
Mr. President, there are no objections filed.
Is there objection agreeing to the report of the committee on the state and local governmental operations, which Farrell passes the bill of the local consent calendar? All of those in favor of the local consent calendar will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. on the local consent calendar, the yeas are 49 and the nays are 0. These bills having received requisite constitutional majority, therefore adopted. Moving on to Senator from the 56th, what purpose you rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President.
State inquiry.
Isn't it true the majority whip could not press the buttons on a senator's desk?
The majority whip has been disciplined multiple times in this body. Censorship would be next. So yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll talk off.
Moving on to the general calendar, Secretary will read Senate Bill 194.
Senate Bill 194 by Senator Stoner, the 23rd, and others. A bill will be titled, an act to amend Chapter 4, Title 18 of the OCGA relating to the garnishment proceedings so as to change the maximum part of disposable earnings subject to garnishment, conform the form used therewith, to clarify various provisions, to change provisions relating to serving the defendant, to change provisions relating to the introduction of evidence, and how judgments are paid, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Judiciary Committee offers the following substitute Senate Bill 194, a bill to be titled, an act to amend Chapter 4 of Title 18 of the OCGA relating to garnishment proceedings so as to change the maximum part of disposable earnings subject to garnishment, form the form used therewith, clarify various provisions, and for other purposes. That concludes the order.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 23rd to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President, fellow senators. I bring to you Senate Bill 194. This deals with technical corrections to our garnishment statute. 2 years ago, we did an overhaul of the garnishment law to correct some areas that had brought attention from the federal court. That was done, and in the last couple of years, we have heard back from practitioners and from courts as to areas they think need further clarification. So with that, we have made a few technical corrections and clarifications. First, we clarify that the amount of exempt wages is in line with federal law, which is 30 times the minimum wage per week, which comes to $217.50 per week, or a fraction thereof if the pay period is less than a week, or a multiplier if it's more than a week. We have clarified that employees of financial institutions, bank employees, whatnot, are subject to garnishment. There was an ambiguity that pointed to the right form to use, but has been used to claim that you can't garnish bank employees. That's corrected. We've also, in Section 3, clarified where notice of garnishment can be sent. In Section 5, we have provided that automatic dismissal occurs after 2 years of inactivity. No money's paid in, no summons issued during that period after the initial affidavit was filed. There had been an issue there as to the wording, whether it was 2 years or 2 years and 30 days. We've also clarified how much of a judgment can be taken against a garnishee who is in default. It's limited to the amounts the garnishee should have paid in but failed to pay in. And lastly, in cases where the debtor raises the issue of a third party, another creditor being entitled to the monies under garnishment, we've clarified that the debtor has no standing to argue on behalf of the third-party creditor, but only to raise that issue and provide notice in case the third-party creditor wishes to participate. So that's it in a nutshell. I'll be happy to answer any questions. If not, I'll yield the well. Urge your support, SB 194. Thank you. I yield the well.
Any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is the objection agreed in the Porter Committee which fail to pass the bill? Chairs none. Porter Committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are the objections? Chairs none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Questions on the pass of the bill. Is there a substitute? Is there objection to adoption of the substitute? Chair hears none, then the substitute is adopted. Question now is, does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is the objection agreed in the Porter Committee which fail to pass the bill? Chairs none. The Porter Committee is agreed to. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the pass of the bill, the yeas are 49 and the nays are 0. And this bill, having received requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Chair recognizes the majority leader, Senator from the 46.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate stand adjourned until 10 o'clock a.m. on Wednesday, January 24th.
Read the announcements.
Rules has been canceled. Retirement will meet at 2 p.m. in the Mez. Science and technology has been canceled. Natural resources and the environment has been canceled. Joint higher education will meet at 3 p.m. in 406 of the CLOB. Banking and financial institutions has been canceled. That concludes the order.
Chair recognizes the distinguished senator from the 4th for an announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, y'all should have received an invitation for a reception this afternoon from Kathy Kazava, who serves you those expensive cashew nuts over in the anteroom. I want to invite you all to attend the reception this afternoon that's put on by the Association of Convenience Stores, the Food Industry Association, and the Georgia Beverage Association. They're good folks. Hope you'll come over and speak to them this afternoon. Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 53rd on a point, or excuse me, on an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an announcement. It comes to great surprise to you, I know, but I am a food eating expert. Yes, it's true. And I'd like to announce that outside our building, the Georgia Hotel and Lodging Association has a barbecue food truck on Mitchell Street. You'll need your ticket to get fed, but please go enjoy. It'll be great food. Thank you, Mr. President.
Veterans, Military Affairs, and Homeland Security will meet at 8:30 tomorrow morning and 310 of the CLOB.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 31st for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to point out to everyone the invitation is on your desk for our Legislative Prayer Fellowship. We've been doing this for a number of years, generally on Wednesday mornings, 7:15 a.m. in Capitol Room 125. We would love to have you join us.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 7th, Distinguished Natural Resources Committee Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since the senator from the 53rd confirmed to everybody that he likes to eat, I am sure that he will enjoy the event that we're having tonight, the annual Alma-Bacon County Seafood Bowl. I would invite all of you to that. And after you get done eating, my good friends in Waycross from Stewart Candy Company provided you with some mints to help clean up your breath. So with that, Mr. President, I yield the well.
Now, they do make the orange in that
They
as
do,
well,
they
right?
do. Yes, sir. Definitely.
Tell them next year to send, give a little, tell them the Lieutenant Governor likes the orange.
I'll handle that, Mr. President. Thank you.
Not because I like Clemson Tigers or anything like that. I can promise you. Any other announcements? Members, the majority leader, the gentleman from Clark County, has moved that this body stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. All of those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, no. And the ayes clearly have it. We stand adjourned.